On the outside, I'm just a math teacher. But inside, I'm in full bank robbery mode.
Every year, over 3,000 banks are robbed in the U.S. as someone who sees a shortcut to make all their problems go away.
Mark fit all the criteria for a pathological gambler.
I was playing 8 to 10 hours of poker a day. I'm gonna lose everything. I'm basically f***ed. There's nothing I can do. I just need money.
But first, they'll need to plan the perfect heist.
The amount of planning that Mark went through was unusual.
You went in with a weapon, you were gonna get a lot more money. I'm teaching probability.
This guy has a long firearm, like a rifle. Is this gonna be my last day on Earth?
I'm good. I'm gonna get away with this.
Police are describing the suspect as a white male, and they say he escaped in a maroon car.
He got away with about $20,000.
I still like to gamble. I don't think I'll ever stop. Growing up in Manoa, it's a small little town. Everybody kind of knows each other. I grew up with my mom, just a single mom raising my brother and myself. I saw my dad every other weekend.
I am Mark Verniak's mother. He was a real good kid. Mark loved to play baseball, softball. He loved to play soccer. He was doing very well at school. He was very outgoing. He had a lot of friends. He was an altar boy.
Hear what he said, Mom? Yep, book in.
There you go. There's one. There it is. There it is. There it is.
I got it.
Nah.
The perfect apple.
Growing up, I was always good at math. Math was my subject. Science wasn't. Social studies wasn't. English class wasn't. It was just always math.
There was one instance where I was giving my older child some math equations. And when he was still counting, Mark was just snapping off the answers.
He knew his math better than I did. He'd come up to me and ask me, how to pin it. I said, that kind of math I don't know. Mark was a very easy-to-go kid.
Nothing, you can turn that off. I don't know.
Britney Spears.
Oh, here you go, Matt. You should watch. You should watch that.
I graduated from high school, and as a graduation gift, my dad said we could go on a trip anywhere I wanted to go.
And he said, I'd love to go to Australia.
We're visiting the Opera House. We're going to snorkel in the Great Barrier Reef. And then at the end of the vacation, Dad, he asked if I wanted to go to the casino. I'd say, yeah, hey, let's go. It sounds like fun. The atmosphere walking in it's very exciting. We walked by a couple blackjack tables, so we just jumped in. It was like $10 minimum. So I put $10 up. I win. 8 out of the first 10 hands I won, so I'm like, all right, this is fun. Like, this is real easy. I keep winning. I'm getting blackjacks. Everybody at the table is getting really excited. I'm getting blackjack after blackjack. I only came with a couple $100. Now I got 3,000 in front of me. I'd never won that much. I'd never been on a winning streak like that. I was doing something right. If we weren't flying out the next morning to come back to the States, like, we were gonna go back again. I was just living in the moment at 19. I graduate in 2002 with a bachelor's in elementary education. I find a job teaching at a local high school, Cicero North Syracuse. I decided I wanted to become a math teacher. I feel I'm really good at math. I can get it across,
Mark did have a great relationship with students. There was great rapport. He could connect to the students because of his age.
Mark was a really dynamic teacher. He was very engaging. Students loved him. You know, he was a cool math teacher. So we were really excited to have him on board.
The students loved him, and he loved the students, and he excelled at it. And I was very proud of him.
Life was good, and I was happy. One night, I'm sitting watching sports on ESPN, and here comes the World Series of Poker. I find it fascinating to watch. I liked how, the social aspect of it. They're all talking to each other, seeming like they're having fun, but yet taking money from each other. Chris Moneymaker, this amateur, beat all these professional gamblers. So I'm thinking, if this average Joe can win $1 million playing poker, then why can't I? So I decided to start playing online poker.
Thousands are now logging on to bet against the house.
Yeah, you can play anything that there is in a casino, anywhere from slots, roulette.
You no longer need to go to Vegas to play the high rollers. You can hit the tables from the safety of your own living room.
I sign up, I get my free account. There's thousands of games going on at once. I can sit in any game that I wanted. Teaching math and knowing what's the odds of a heart coming, what's the odds of a spade coming. Those basic probabilities I can see applying to this game. At work, to World of Poker, kind of running through my mind as I'm teaching. At first, I just would play a dollar tournament, nothing real big. But then I would start playing $200-300 to get a lot more money.
He would be in his computer room and on the computer playing cards. And I'm thinking, why is he playing this so much?
I was 25 at the time. I, had a good job. To have kids and get married and have a big house. I just figured that's what the next step in my life was. Everything was going fine. Financially, everything was good. I'm winning online. There's no losses really ever coming in. The money from that is helping to pay for a down payment on a house. A honeymoon after a wedding. 67-inch widescreen TV, new beds, new furniture. I felt I could do really whatever I wanted because I had enough money to do so. The wife didn't know any of my finances. All she knew was the bills were getting taken care of.
I wondered, why would they buy this very, very expensive house and get into this money pit? Why would you spend all that money all the time?
I was making $2,500, $3,000 a week, more on a weekly basis gambling than I was making as a teacher. Financially, I would think, really, how high can I go? I was just sitting back and really having a great time. It was good. My first child was born and, enjoying watching my daughter grow. One night I was playing poker. I had 4 or 5 tables at a time, really fast-paced, $1,200 to $1,500 at a time going on, and lose at every single one of them. I really just can't believe that, that happened. And the next night I'm supposed to win it back, I lose $3,000. That just started the cycle of I was chasing the money more than I was really, playing smart.
He always kept everything to himself.
I had said to him, why are you playing so much? And he really didn't say anything.
This is kind of when all the sneakiness and lying started. That's just the mentality that I'm at, that I can really do whatever I want and, make up enough lies, and I'd still be able to, walk away with nobody really knowing what's going on. So at this point, I'm really involved in, obviously, online gambling and, gambling at the casino. I would just get dressed, put on my shirt and tie. My family thought I was going to work, and I'd drive straight to the casino. Every time I'd walk into the casino, people would know me and like, hey, Mark, like, what's going on? It felt good to have these complete strangers become second family. That made me feel better at times than actually gambling. I guess it was a release as far as I didn't have to worry about any of the other problems that were going on. It was just a way out of reality.
There were rumors going around at school all day that he was missing because he was gambling, but I had nothing to prove that.
His attendance began to drop off. He started to make us think, what's going on with Mark.
My impressions were that Mark was not all in. He was disengaged from his job.
That money that I'm winning at the casino, that's the money that I'm putting into my online account. But, I continue to keep losing all the time. It was about $8,000 a week, $9,000 a week. Every time I would try to bet big, I would always lose.
My name's Rick Luciani, and I'm a mitigation specialist for the criminal courts in the state of New York. The big difference between recreational gambling and becoming addicted to it is the loss of control. You saw that in Mark, where he did hit big early on, and then he just continually gambled and chased his losses and got himself in a big financial hole.
As I'm losing, I don't have the money to fuel my online account. At the same time, I don't have enough to pay my bills. I'm starting to lash out. I remember an argument that I had, and door was locked, and I just kicked the door down. I couldn't afford formula for my daughter. I couldn't afford diapers. So, now I start going to the, grocery store and steal. I'd walk around, fill my grocery cart up, and just walk out. I get a letter in the mail. The mortgage company's wanting a lump sum around $30,000 to get back on track. They're telling me that you're in pre-foreclosure. Like, you have to pay us the money by this date. I can feel everything starting to close in. I couldn't bring myself to tell my wife, I f***ed up, we're gonna lose a house. The only thing that I can think of is, where is a lot of money? There's a lot of money at a bank. I thought, it. My only option left was to rob the bank. Now I've decided to do it, to rob a bank. I gotta follow through, or, all these other things are gonna fall apart. I'm gonna lose everything that I've built my entire life up to this point. I'm in that mind frame of, I'm gonna get away with this. Thinking I'm better than anybody. I would go to work and research on my school computer.
He went from being this very engaging teacher to somebody who was kind of aloof and disconnected.
I didn't care about anything else. I'm in full bank robbery mode. Being a math teacher, I wanted to see what my odds were of getting away. First, I had to choose a bank. So I just decided that the only bank that I really know is the one that I went to when I was a kid. They don't have a security guard. It's a small, quiet town. There's not a lot of people. Those were the deciding factors on which bank I would rob. Figuring out when the best time to go in and rob the bank is. The bank entrance is right here. I figure I can just go in there real quick, and then hopefully when I come out, nobody's here to see me get back in my car and leave. You know, I just want to make a quick entrance and a quick getaway. My thought is when I leave, I'm just going to go through the village here, and you know, I know the side streets well, and it's only going to take me a minute or two to get home. Once I figured out which bank it was going to be, I asked myself, can I really do this? I'm trying to figure out a way of not getting caught. I want to be disguised. I don't want any customers to be in the bank. I don't want me holding a hostage. I want the most amount of money that I can get.
The amount of planning that Mark went through was unusual in my opinion, in my experience. You're dealing with someone who had an education, a master's degree.
I thought about, if I use a gun, am I gonna get more time? People with written notes only got a couple $1,000s. But if you went in with a weapon, you were gonna get a lot more money. So that's why I decided to use a gun. My brother, he had a gun at my mom's house. It was a 12-gauge shotgun, but it didn't have the trigger on it. It couldn't be fired. I determined that if I got caught, I wouldn't get as much time using that gun because it was inoperable. So I decided that's the one that was going to be used.
He went as far as finding the difference between robbery in the first degree and robbery in the second degree. And he tried to minimize, if he was caught, the ultimate criminal penalty. For robbery in the first degree is 25 years, while for robbery in the second degree is 15 years.
At this point in time, I have the pressure of trying to pay my mortgage off, the $30,000. I have, you know, really bad credit. I get a letter in the mail from the DMV stating that I have to either turn my license plates in or they're gonna come arrest me because I have a humongous lapse in my car insurance. So I found another car exactly like mine. Same year, same color, same make, everything. I stole the license plates off of their car and put them on mine. I'm taking my daughter, we go to the airport just to watch the planes land and take off. But as I'm sitting there, the Syracuse City Police, they drive by my car. They're running the license plates of anybody who's parked there. Then my license plates come back stolen. So I get caught. I got arrested for stolen license plates. So I go to court and I have to do 60 hours of community service. So now, on top of not going to work because I'm gambling, I'm also taking extra time off, like on a Tuesday, to go do my community service hours. But still, nobody knows why I really had stolen license plates on my car.
We were viewing the camera footage for several weeks to see when Mark was leaving the building. We would see on the tapes Mark leaving, and we would not see indication on the swipe equipment that he was coming back.
Now I have the pressure of community service. I'm not paying any bills, trying to pay my mortgage off, the $30,000. I'm basically, there's nothing I can do. I just need money. The pressure of everything, it just overwhelmed me at that moment. I was just driving and the bank was still open. I don't know, for some reason I just basically had a it moment and just decided I was gonna do it right then and there. There was no planning. I didn't have the gun with me. However, I had a knife in my car. As I'm walking up, my hands and legs are shaking. As I get closer, my legs are seeming to get heavy, and each step I'm taking is just like I'm dragging a ton of bricks. Just real tunnel vision. I look in and I notice somebody I know in there. It snapped me out of it when, I recognized a familiar face. So right then and there, I just turned around and walked away. I went home and played with my daughter. A big sense of relief and calmness came over me. But at the same time, it was just desperation. So I just said, okay, well, there's always another day. I would get my paycheck every other week from work and play online poker. But I'm still losing all the time. So I decided to start sports betting with illegal bookies. I'm gonna start betting $1,000 games, $2,000 games. And, I lost all of it. They're calling me, telling me, hey, listen, we know where you live. We're gonna come, we're gonna hurt you, we're gonna hurt your family. Every time I heard a door shut at home, every time I heard a car go by, I looked out the window. My anxiety level just going through the roof. From being an average Joe to the depths of the gambling world, dealing with bookies and having to, people threaten you. It's a big shakeup. The school caught wind of my gambling and community service.
Set up a meeting with Mark so that we could see if he would share anything with us.
I'm getting questioned by the principals. What's going on? Why aren't you in school?
Mark was not forthcoming about any issues or problems that were going on in his life.
I didn't have to say I was at the doctor's. I didn't have to show a doctor's note. I could just take the time off and nobody could question where I was. At 2008, 2009, I had, over 100 sick days that I could use.
I said, we think you have a gambling problem and there's people that can help you. And I really hope you take advantage of this. He wasn't of the mind frame to do that.
I just snapped at that point. I said, my personal life is my personal life. Funny, you wanted me to come talk to you, but when your daughter died last year, you never came and cried on my shoulder. Why didn't you come to me? And that was it. That was the end of the meeting.
That meeting did not go as well as we had hoped.
I'm suspended from work with pay from January till about April. So now I have all the time in the world to play online poker. I was playing 8 to 10 hours of poker a day. I tried to build that slowly back up. by going back to, how I originally did it. I played smaller games. I finally had over $30,000 in my online account. I couldn't believe it. It's what I need so I can get my mortgage back on track. I have no idea why. I decided to take one last shot, and I put all my money on one table. I can remember thinking that that's just it. It's clear as day what needs to be done. I was gonna go for the big win. This could save my life. Within 10 minutes, $30,000 was completely gone. The next morning, I just wake up just like a regular day. I drive over to my mom's house because I know that my brother's gun is in the closet. I taught the classes that I had to in the morning. Once I'm done teaching my classes, I just go right to my car and drive over to the bank. As I'm getting to the bank, I drive around, the block just to see who's there, what type of cars are there. At one point, there was a police officer there. Now I'm thinking to myself, Jesus, there's a cop here. I can't rob a bank when a cop's right across the road. I'm looking behind the library. There's a young kid. Now I'm getting nervous as, is this kid really, is he looking at me? Is he seeing my face? Is he seeing my car? He's just looking right at me. I looked over at one point, and he's not there anymore. Finally, I see the cop drive away. And there's nobody driving on Main Street. There's no cars going up and down. So I figured that was the best time as any. And start walking over to the bank. As I'm approaching the door, thinking about my family, the house, and all those payments, that was always at the forefront of my mind. The adrenaline is just kicking in. I'm out in the open with a gun. I can feel my heart start to race. It's like a feeling I'd never felt before in my life. Just open the doors, and everything slows down.
The door opens, person walks in. I see someone with a mask and a hoodie. I'm looking at him, and I see the covered face. He's not a large guy, but he's holding a gun.
I said, listen, just calm down. All I want is the money, it'll be over in a minute.
This guy has a long firearm. It wasn't like a pistol, like a rifle. He didn't point it at me, but he lifted it slightly, as a reminder. Do as you're told, or else. First instinct is fear. You have no idea what's going to happen. You don't know if you're gonna get tied up. You don't know if you're gonna get executed. And then I started thinking about, is this gonna be my last day on earth? I'm like, oh my God, like my wife is gonna find out that her husband got killed today. Comes and says, I want your money. I want unmarked bills, no die packs. And you have 30 seconds.
30, 29, 28.
My heart's beating out of my chest, so I just start putting money in the bag.
20, 19, 18.
And he gets down to like 15, 10. And I'm thinking like, what happens when he gets to 0? Is he gonna shoot me?
At one point, I see one of the female teller. She just kind of nods her head a little bit, and I had no idea what that meant, but I knew it couldn't be good.
There is an alarm system, and it was pressed. He takes the bag, and he heads out. I felt angry. It was like, how dare you? How dare you come into my work and terrorize me? I really wanted to put hands on this guy. I really did, you know.
As I leave the bank, all the adrenaline's running through my veins, and my heart's still pounding. I just run right to my car. As I'm driving, I reach over into the bag, and I notice that there's red smoke billowing throughout the car. There's tear gas in the dye pack. I look in the rearview mirror, and there's just red smoke. I can't breathe. I can't really see. My eyes are starting to water. So I took the dye pack, and I just threw it out the window. In the distance, I can hear the police. Now I'm worried about, am I really gonna get caught, or am I gonna get away with it? After a few minutes, the cops just drove by, and they didn't stop, so, you know, I'm good. I've got red dye all over my clothes, so I decided not to go to my house. Instead, I decided to go to my mom's house. I run into my mom's backyard and into my shed. Threw the gun in there and my clothes. I get back in my car and drive back to my house. I walk in the house. My aunt was watching my daughter at the time. Just nobody had any clue. I'm thinking to myself, there's no way I can get caught. I had a mask on. Nobody can see my face. I didn't leave any fingerprints. I didn't get caught at the bank. I'm good. I'm gonna get away with this. Then I turned the news on, and there's at the bottom of the screen rolling, Chase Bank in Manoa had just been robbed.
Police are telling me that the suspect walked into this Chase Bank carrying a long arm with him, a long gun.
He got away with about $20,000.
Police are describing the suspect as a white male, about 5'8". He was also wearing a face mask, and they say he escaped in a maroon car.
I guess it was like a surreal moment. I can't actually believe that I did that.
Manlius police are looking for a man they say robbed a bank today. Investigators.
My friend and I had a girls' night on Friday nights, and of course the big news of the night was the Manoa bank robbery.
Officers say
and we thought that was really quite interesting, considering Manoa was such a little small town that we lived in, and how they could rob the Manoa bank.
I really didn't know what the dye pack did to the car. So I go back to the car to get the money. There was just red dye all on the roof. red dye all over the seat. I never counted the entire amount of money. I didn't really know how much I had. I just went up into the attic and I ended up hiding it under the, the insulation. Now I have a whole new set of, thoughts of, am I really gonna get caught or am I gonna get away with it? The next day after the bank robbery, just drive to work. It's just like any other Friday. The kids didn't say anything about any bank robbery. I just taught classes like normal. One of my coworkers, he's like, you hear about that bank robbery? Like, sounds kind of like you. I'm like, oh, all right, well, yeah, it's not me. What are you talking about? That day at school was a half a day. I get back in my car and drive back to my house.
Colleagues in the staff room were talking about a robbery. Might that have been Mark? And I see in the paper that they talk about the color of the car. I'm aware of the basic color and type of car that Mark drives, and the description fits. So I contacted the police and let them know about this crazy possibility.
Later on at home, there's a knock at the door. I open the door and the police are there. He started asking me questions. What was I doing yesterday? I told him I was at work.
I got a knock on the door, and a local police officer said, Betty, I need to come in and look in your shed. I said, look in my shed? What do you need to look in my shed for? And he goes, because you know that we had the bank robbery. And he said, well, we think Mark was involved. I saw that there was $10 bills on the floor, and there was clothing and the gun. And he goes, Betty, he goes, this is a crime scene. He goes, Mark's probably robbed the bank. I just said, what do you mean Mark's robbed the bank? All I wanted to do was to hold him and to tell him that I still loved him. But ask him why. Why couldn't he come to us?
On the outside, I'm just trying to play it cool, but inside, I'm extremely nervous. I just want to get him out of my house. All of a sudden, the tone of the conversation just totally changed. He said, I know you robbed the bank. We know your car was there. We can put you at the bank at that time. They tell me I'm being arrested for armed robbery. So at that point, I knew I was done. To take my mugshot, take my fingerprints. I'm just thinking the worst. Like 25 years, I'm not gonna be, I'll be 54 when I get out of prison. The judge set my bail at $300,000 cash. Now I'm going to jail.
This is News Channel 9 at 5 o'clock.
The talk at Cicero North Syracuse High School today is about the arrest of a well-liked math teacher.
I didn't believe it. I was like, no way. There's no way that could have happened. And then I kept getting texts about it, and then when I got to school, everybody was talking about it.
I heard he's a really, personable guy. A lot of people really like him.
Manlius police say they recovered the shotgun used in the Chase Bank robbery while searching.
I'm sitting in prison thinking about, shit, my life's really over.
When I first saw him, I asked him, why did you do that? He says, I was desperate, Dad. I felt responsible for him doing the bank because of the casino in Australia. It was my fault.
It was like a nightmare. If the police had been at the bank a second sooner, they would have shot and killed him because he had a weapon. It was just a matter of seconds that he would have been dead.
A few days later, the lawyer said, your mom and family have hired me.
He stole approximately $32,000. The maximum sentence was 25 years.
He's like, it would look good if you apologized or felt some sort of remorse for robbing the bank and scaring these people. I was like, well, if you think it's gonna be a good idea, then yeah, I'll go ahead and do it, because, I'm trying to get the least amount of time as I can. There's news cameras lined up around the courtroom. That takes me by surprise. I don't want these cameras in here. My friends and family are in the front few rows.
I love my husband very much, and yes, what he did was wrong, but more importantly is that he's missing my child's upbringing right now. And to me, that sentence enough.
We had some professionals evaluate him, and they certainly could certify that he fit all the criteria for an impulsive, pathological gambler, and that activity led to him committing a very serious but aberrant act.
Mark spoke at sentencing and expressed his remorse to the court. It was very, very helpful in convincing the judge that he deserved a sentence on the lower end.
I was sentenced to 4 years in prison and then 2.5 years parole supervision.
New this afternoon, a high school math teacher will spend the next 4 years behind bars. During his sentencing, Gurniak got emotional while saying he was sorry.
I thought it was fair. He had to pay for what he did.
In New York State, if you're convicted of a felony, you lose your teaching license.
I lost a house, a family, and once I get out of prison, then the divorce goes through. The marriage doesn't survive jail at all. Today, I work for a pharmaceutical company in Syracuse. I've got a girlfriend who's great and supportive, and we have a relationship with my 2 daughters. I do still go gambling, but it's definitely different than it was before. I know where gambling took me and what it's done with my life. I know I'll never go down that route again, but I still like to gamble. And yeah, I don't think I'll ever stop.